Simple Jack, yeah, you went all out on that one, huh? You did. Really swung for the fences, huh?
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, yeah. Yeah, it was an intense experience. You know, I just did the work. Watched a lot of retarded people. Spent time with them, observed them. Watched all the retarded stuff they did. But, you know, there were times when I was doing Jack that I actually felt retarded, like really retarded.
Damn.
In a weird way, I had to sort of just free myself up to believe that it was okay to be stupid or dumb.
To be a moron.
Yeah.
To be moronical.
Exactly. To be a moron.
An imbecile.
Yeah.
Like the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived. Stupid ass Jack.
By the end of the whole thing, I was like, wait a minute, you know? I flushed so much out, how am I gonna jumpstart it up again? It's just like... Yeah, right?
You was farting in bathtubs and laughing your ass off.
Yeah. I mean, it was just really it was crazy.
You started working with mercury. You're serious? You don't know. Everybody knows you never go full retard.
What do you mean?
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
Going straight to the sky, let me see you put your hands up. Cause we do till we die and we on another level.
So I want to be clear. Not all paranormal and cryptic groups are custom shit shows. But the one I was in was full of assholes and cult members. Listen, I just wanted to share my story and try and get answers. But when I started to share the details about my experience, the eye shine, height, weight, color, next thing I knew I was invited to a closed group. And after that, I get like 15 Facebook friend requests. Listen, I should have known something was off immediately because they started telling me that I needed to interview. And I was constantly getting messages. Have you had any more activity? Are you going to do the interview? I mean, real pushy behavior. And then when I told one of them I started having some strange occurrences right around my house, they went absolutely crazy. It was like I was being swarmed by this hive of bees. It quickly moved to them asking me to go back to the location where I had my encounter and get evidence. And when I said no, then they really turned aggressive. This one girl, Christina with a K, who later I learned was actually a man, sends me a message saying, "We know where you live based on your Facebook check-ins, and we'll come and find it ourselves." I'm thinking to myself, man, hold the fuck up. This is not what I signed up for. All I wanted to do was tell my story and get a few questions answered. Then, simultaneously, all of them, all 15 of them, blocked me. Listen, my Dogman encounter was scary, but it wasn't horror movie scary. And listen, prior to having my encounter, I didn't know much about Dogman at all. Anyway, listen to this. I'm out hunting, right? As I normally do, my same hunting ground. And I stumble upon this mining tunnel that I had never seen before. Now granted, there's a whole bunch of tunnels in this area. It's just this particular one I had never seen before. So I had no fear of it. I decided to start poking around a bit. When I get right to the entrance, it smells like wet dog. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe the coyotes have made a den in here. So I go on about my business. That evening, when I get through hunting and I'm headed back to my vehicle, I see this giant wolf down on all fours coming out of that tunnel. It comes out, sniffs the air, and takes off running into the woods like a freaking bolt of lightning. Now, of course I was scared out of my mind because I've never seen a wolf the size of a freaking bull. But it ignores me, goes on about its business, does absolutely nothing to me. For all I knew, it could have had a dental appointment. Now, I go home, which is about 10 miles away, counting my lucky stars that things turned out the way they did. Later that night, I end up leaving the house, headed to my truck to get a pack of cigarettes. That's when I see this eye shine across the road in the trees. Then this wolf steps out onto the roadway, standing on its hind legs, and looks at me. And I'm telling you, this thing wanted me to see it. It stood there long enough for me to understand what the hell was going on. Its fur was black, and I'm not talking about regular black. I'm talking about so black that the light from the street lamp was absorbed into its fur. Then it turns and walks away. Now I took it as a warning. The animal actually said, "Hey, you came to my house, I'm coming to yours, and now we're even. But I still wanted to know more about it. And that's how I ended up in that freaking Facebook group. But the scenario I found myself in after seeing this creature was all fucked up. I get threatened by these strangers that they're gonna come to my area looking for Dogman. A week later, I'm at the grocery store, and this guy walks up to me and says, "Hey Gabe," then walks past me. And listen to me when I tell you, I've never seen this man before in my life. Now get this, I go hunting a few days later, I'm out in the woods, and guess who I bump into with two other guys? These motherfuckers are out there canvassing the woods less than 10 miles away from my house. Listen to me. Honestly, I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to shoot all three of these motherfuckers because I knew it was them from the Facebook group, and when I asked them about it, not one of them could look me in my eye. So I decided the best thing to do was to tell them exactly what the fuck they wanted. So I walked them directly over to the entrance of that tunnel. And get this, these three jackasses, even though I've clearly explained to them what I experienced, not one of them was armed. These idiots are just prancing around in the woods like I'm lying. And now listen to me, I'm gonna tell you just like I told the sheriff, the last time I saw those three assholes were right there at the entrance to that tunnel. Now later that night I hear sirens and a helicopter, but I'm watching TV, whatever, it's none of my fucking business. 3 days later I bump into John, one of my neighbors from up the street who's a sheriff in town. I'm at the bar smoking a cigarette, drinking whiskey. He and I start to catch up. He asks me about my family, how things are going. I ask him about his job, and he says everything was going well until a couple of days ago. And he tells me about these three fools that he had to carry to the hospital and how one of them had to be flown out by a helicopter because something picked him up and slammed him up against a tree, fracturing his spine. John goes on to explain to me that he's not sure what the hell got a hold of these fellas, but it did a number on them, and one of them lost an arm. Now, you know how they say honesty is the best policy, right? Well, this is where I fucked up, because John's my neighbor, and I told him, well, man, I think I know the three guys you're talking about. And I tell him the entire story about Facebook and Dogman, the whole thing. He's sitting there looking at me like I'm absolutely insane. Next thing you know, the sheriff wants me to come down for questioning and the assault of these three assholes. And like I said before, what I told the sheriff was I left their stupid asses right there at the entrance to that mining tunnel. Listen to me when I tell you, they questioned me for over an hour, asking me how I know these guys from Ohio, what was the name of the Facebook group. Listen, this shit turned out to be way worse than my Dogman encounter. Listen to me, when I leave the sheriff's office, I'm pissed. I didn't invite those assholes to come here. Now I'm being questioned in their assault. So now, fuck that, I'm back on Facebook trying to find them. And like I said before, all 15 of those people blocked me. But when I go back to the original group where I met them, I've been booted out of that fucking group. Man, please listen to what I'm saying to you. Yes, I saw Dogman, and things turned out fine. But the biggest mistake I made was opening my fucking mouth about it. Because had I said absolutely nothing at all, the only thing that would have transpired was I went to its house, it came to my house, and that would have been it. There would have been no sheriff involved, no hour-long interrogation. If I can give you a piece of advice, it's this. Be careful who you accept a friend request from. And go inside of your Facebook profile and turn off your check-ins. Because these bitches out here are crazy over Dogman. Attention all tinfoil hat wearing, Dogman loving, Bigfoot chasing, alien searching ladies and gentlemen of the world. Have you heard of Chasing the Truth with Sean Graham? If you've never heard of Chasing the Truth with Sean Graham, then you have no clue what you're missing. Open line phone calls on every topic, ranging from Dogman, Bigfoot, lucid dreaming, demons, monsters, ghosts. Man, where have you been? Where have you been? If you have been accused of being a tinfoil hat wearing person, then you need to be listening to Chasing the Truth with Sean Graham. He airs every Saturday night here on the Dark Waters channel from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you just so happen to miss him on the Dark Waters channel, guess what? No big deal. He has his own channel called Chasing the Truth here on YouTube. Saturdays, 7 to 9 p.m. here on the Dark Waters channel. See you there.
Cornfields. In order for you to understand the encounter that I had, first you need to understand my wife. Now, I love this woman to death, but she's a freaking weirdo. Most women want to take a vacation and they want to go to Florida to the beach, or maybe San Diego to the zoo, Cancun, Mexico, Peru, France, Germany. But no, not my wife. She has this fascination with small town America. So for about 12 months, she had been planning this cross-country road trip from our home in Chicago, Illinois, through all these small cities and towns, all the way over to San Francisco, California. Now, let me say this. I had absolutely no interest in taking this road trip. But one of the things I learned as a married man is that sometimes you need to make compromises in order to make a relationship work. The way I figured it, it meant a lot of one-on-one time with she and I, and it definitely meant that I was getting a hell of a lot of sex as we stopped from hotel room to hotel room on our way to San Francisco. Now that you know her motivation and you know my motivation, I think it'll be a little bit easier for you to swallow why in the hell we found ourselves in the middle of nowhere at a diner when I saw this freaking animal in the cornfields. The first point of contention that I had with this road trip was that my wife wanted to drive her Tesla. That I couldn't agree to. I didn't want to take the chance of the damn thing running out of power and us being trapped on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. So we decided to take my Chevy Suburban and hit the road. She and I leave Chicago and head into Iowa. Now, for whatever reason, she wanted to go to Sioux City. My wife and I leave Chicago about 12:45, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, headed to Iowa. Now, I don't know about you if you ever been to Iowa or drove through Iowa, but it's pretty much the most boring place I've ever seen in my life. Flat land, crops everywhere. Literally, there are tractors crossing back and forth across the highway that we're on. Now, I can't tell you exactly what time it was that my wife started complaining about her hunger pains, but I can tell you exactly where we were when she started bitching and moaning about her being hungry. I will never forget it because I had just passed this sign for Twin Lakes. And for some reason, the movie Twin Peaks popped into my mind, which in turn made me reach over and grab her breast. I know that makes no sense, and to you that may not make any sense, but that's how our relationship works. My wife and I sexually harass each other all day long. She's on her cell phone trying to find us a place to eat, and she finds this place, and I think the name of it was like Crossroads Diner and Grill. We get off in early Iowa, go down this little highway, and when we pull up to the lot, when we pull up to the building, the freaking parking lot is packed. My wife and I are looking at each other saying either the food is fantastic here or they're just giving it away free. Either way it goes, we're going to try this spot for a bite to eat. So we circle the block looking for a place to park. When I realize there's no place for me to park the car, I pull up, let her out, and I circle the block again looking for a parking space. That's when I decided I was going to park on the street behind the restaurant facing the highway. Now, I don't know what they're growing over there on the opposite side of that highway right now, but when we were there, there was nothing but corn stalks everywhere. I park, hop out, and start walking a short distance over to the restaurant. Now, let me tell you this. When I first got out of the vehicle, I had a strange feeling that something was over there in those cornfields, but I disregarded the feeling, saying, man, stop being a little punk. Go to the restaurant, get some food with your woman. Let's hurry up and eat so we can get to the small town, get to the hotel, and I can get what I'm supposed to get for this trip. With sex on my mind, I pretty much jogged over to the restaurant, and when I got there, she was seated at a table waiting on me. Now, let me tell you something about this place. The best fried chicken I ever had in my adult life came from that place right there. You know how in some of those commercials they say the chicken is finger licking good? This place had chicken that was so good I wanted to bite my fingers off. Listen to me. 9 o'clock rolls around. People are still coming to this restaurant. The place is so packed that they literally have to lock the door so more people won't come in. The apple pie, oh my God, I was in heaven. 9:45 rolls around. My wife and I are completely full. I'm starting to get sleepy, realizing I still got at least an hour and a half drive left. I tell her, baby, put the fork down. We need to go. We pay the tab, get up, and head out of the door. Walking through the parking lot, there's still quite a few cars there. We make a right turn, headed around the back side of the building, walking along the highway when my wife looks at me and says, do you have my cell phone in your pocket? And to be clear with you, it's pretty much pitch black in this area we're in. The light from the parking lot is not reaching where we are. I'm standing there patting my pockets. I feel my keys. I feel my wallet. I feel my cell phone, but not her cell phone. She turns her pretty behind around, starts jogging back to the restaurant, trying to get in the door to get her cell phone. Now I find myself standing there all alone in the dark on the side of the highway, watching my wife run back in that direction. It takes her every bit of 4 minutes before she's coming back out of the restaurant and meeting me in that exact same spot. Now listen to me good. We're walking right along that highway. She's on my right-hand side, furthest away from the highway. I'm on the left-hand side. My woman is doing what she always does, completely oblivious to any danger, not concerned about anything going on. She's walking with her head down, looking at her cell phone. I would say we were right about 15 to 20 yards away from the vehicle when I hit the button to unlock the doors. The headlights come on, lighting up the cornfields across from us. For some reason, my eyes are drawn in that direction, and there is this figure, taller than the corn stalks. This thing has pale gray skin. I can see its head and shoulders clearly above the top of the corn stalks. And the shoulders have this sharp, pronounced, pointy tips on it. And I can tell you whatever this thing was standing there with his head turned away from the light, because when it looked directly at the light, the eyes started to shine this purple and whitish color. Again, my wife is walking with her head down. I've come to a complete stop staring at this thing that's staring at my vehicle. And in my mind, I'm trying to figure out what the hell we should do. Now, I know this is going to sound pretty cliche, but I'm sure you've seen one of those horror movies where the woman in the movie is not paying attention to the danger that's around her. When her man tells her, come on, let's go, she's resistant and she wants to know why they're in a rush. That is what my baby was doing. I'm pulling her by her arm, freaking out, and this woman stops and gives a tantrum like a 12-year-old little kid and says, stop pulling on me. Glancing back over into the cornfield, now this thing is looking directly in our direction. So I yank her by the arm and take off running, leaving her absolutely no choice but to bring her ass with me. When we get to the vehicle, I open the back driver's side door and literally shove her in the car. The whole time she's screaming and fussing, stop pulling on me. What the hell is wrong with you? What's going on? And to this day, I still can't explain outside of the fact that maybe, just maybe, the overwhelming sense that my life and her life was in danger made me move and behave the way I did. Somehow, while I was simultaneously closing the back door and opening the front door, I slid my body into the vehicle, cranked it up, put it in drive, hit the gas, turned, and pulled off while my left leg was still hanging out the door. Imagine for a moment the confusion and panic that was going on in that vehicle. I'm now driving a solid 60 miles an hour, peeling out, getting the hell out of there. My wife is in the back seat screaming, "What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you behaving this way?" Ranting and raving. And the only thing on my mind was looking through the rearview mirror to make sure whatever the hell that was not following us. We get to Highway 20, make a left, and now we're headed off. She's climbing into the front seat, fussing, hitting and punching and slapping on me, demanding that I pull the vehicle over. And so I do, and I try to calmly explain to her what exactly it was that I saw. Now let me make something clear. We did not drink any alcohol while we were in that restaurant. And to this day, my wife does not believe me. She insists that there has to be a reasonable explanation for what I saw. But let me tell you something. There is no known animal or creature taller than a full-grown cornstalk with gray skin, a gigantic head, eyes that glow purple and white, and shoulders with sharp, pointy horns on them. And like I told her, if she could find me an image of something similar or something that I could have mistaken for that, then I would admit that what the hell I did that night was wrong. But until then, I made the right decision to get us the hell out of there, because if whatever that thing was decided to come out of the cornfields, it would have killed us.
Now listen, I have to admit to you that I never ever really believed in Dogman, but for some reason the topic just fascinated me. So I listened to a number of stories on YouTube and decided that I would go out and take a look for them. But the very first problem I ran into was I discovered that a number of these stories that people are telling just aren't true. So then I started listening to interviews. You know, the kind of interviews where people tell where they actually had their encounters and what city and town and state. But I had no luck with that either. It wasn't until I started tracking a few of the strange news stories, missing people, dead farm animals, and swamp animals, that I finally got on the right track. I ended up traveling down south to Louisiana, into the marshes and islands south of Morgan City. Now, before I go any further with the story, let me tell you this. To those of you who are thinking about doing what I did, I'll say this. If you're willing to risk your life and limbs just to see one of these creatures, it's possible. However, after what I experienced, I think that you should under no circumstances ever, never ever, go out looking for these dogmen. They're smart, tactical, and vicious. Anyway, back to the story. Through my research, I found out that hunters and fishermen were finding dead deer and pelicans washed up in the bayous. These things were half eaten and torn apart. The deers had their necks broken and had claw marks all over them. You see, the locals in Louisiana called this creature that I was looking for the rougarou. I called it the Dogman. So I made a contact with a few people. I headed down to New Orleans, and then from New Orleans to Morgan City.
Once I hit the city, I wasted no time getting out to the swamps. I was only going to be there for 5 days, so I wanted to get moving. And to be honest with you, the first 4 days I was there was completely uneventful. It was on the morning of the 5th day that stuff started to happen for me. You see, I was having breakfast at this local diner when this boy walks in. And by boy, I mean he was no older than 19 or 20 years old. He walks up, sits down across from me, and says, "Mister, you the guy that everybody's saying looking for the Rougarou?" Now, this dude seemed paranoid and shaky. You know, he was fidgeting and moving around, and his eyes kept darting left to right. I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for the Rougarou." "What you plan on doing?" he said. That's when I told him, "I just want to know for sure that they actually exist." This boy looked at me and started giggling and laughing. He said, "Oh, yeah, I can assure you that they're real." "How much you paying for the information?" "You pay me, I'll give you the coordinates to where they're going to be." I looked at this kid and I figured, look, maybe he's trying to hustle me for a few bucks, but I'll give him $50 just to check the coordinates out. So I say $50. That's when he looks at me and says, $500. Them people on them TV shows that's been coming down here, they've been paying thousands of dollars for this type of information. Now I found myself in the middle of a negotiation with a dusty, dirty little Cajun kid. So I quickly brought it to a head. $250 is all I'm paying. You can take it, or you can get up from this table and go on about your business. That's when this kid pulls out his cell phone, shows me pictures of the Rougarou. Not one, not two, but three. He said him and his brother had been taking pictures of him from the water because they transverse this island every evening. He even said they tried to shoot one of them with a tracking device, but they missed, and 4 of them jumped in the water and started swimming after him. After seeing them pictures, I was more than happy to spend $250. He told me, go to the area right before sundown, and I would see them passing along the island. As he was taking his money, he looked at me and said, whatever you do, don't go nowhere near that island. Stay 50, 60, 70 yards away out into the channel. These things can swim. They'll swim up to your boat and yank you out. After that, he took his $250 and walked away. Honestly, I was a little excited. I've been searching for these creatures about 11 months and had not one real lead. So I grabbed me some water, food, gassed up the boat, and headed out to that spot. But I was there early, way early. I got there at 1:30 p.m. And with 5 hours left until the sun was going down, I figured I'd just pull my boat up on the island just to get a closer look. In my crazy mind, I was thinking I just wanted to be able to say I walked on the same land that Dogman walks on. So I moved my boat closer up to the island, hopped off, and tied the rope holding my boat to the tree. I had never been on an island in the swamps before, and the ground wasn't what I expected it to be at all. It was strong, firm, not even soggy at all. I walked further onto the island, about 10 to 12 feet, right until I got to this line of trees. And believe me, I wanted to walk further, but my nerves wouldn't let me. But what I was able to see beyond those trees was open, flat land. It really was a little island. It had high grass, but it was open, flat land. I can't tell you why at this point in time I started getting nervous. There really was no reason. But I figured it was best for me to get back on the boat. So I turned and started walking back towards the boat. And that's when I saw it for the first time. Dogman footprint. This thing was big. And what I mean by big is, you know how you go to one of those kids' birthday parties and they have those little small brown plastic plates where you can put a few sandwiches and a piece of chicken on? Well, take one of those, turn it over and press it in the ground. That's how big the front pad of this print was. That's huge. And it was sunk deep into the mud. After seeing that, I knew for sure the Dogman was real. So I got my behind on that boat and headed back out towards the middle of the channel and set anchor. I had positioned myself about 75 yards away from this island. And the swamps were tingling with life. I mean, pelicans flying, fish swirling, crickets chirping, frogs croaking. It was absolutely beautiful. And with the exception of the mosquitoes and bugs, it was picture perfect. But as it got closer to 5 o'clock, a line of boats started coming down the channel, passing me one by one. These were fishermen heading back in for the day. What else was cool was that I had never ever seen a shrimp boat. These things have these massive nets that hang on each side of the boat. And it was cool. And then one of these guys in this real small, beat up skiff pulled up right next to me. He looked at me and said, "You finna head on in?" I ain't gonna lie to you, I was confused. I was like, I don't even know this dude. So I answered, "Yeah, in a little while." Then he said, "You might want to head on in. At least get to moving off this spot." When I asked him why, he said, "You must not be from around here." And I said, "No, sir, I'm not." He's like, "Well, let me tell you something. This is not the spot you want to be in. So you need to get to moving on in." Then he drove off in his boat. As he drove away, he looked back at me over his shoulder, kind of shaking his head and looking at me with this look on my face like I was crazy or stupid. But I didn't care. I wanted to see Dogman for myself. And I wasn't leaving that spot until I saw it. Right about 5:55, the sun started going down. And the further it went down, the crazier things got. The first thing I saw was two big alligators, 10 to 12 feet long, come running off that island. You know how they say gators can move about 9 and 10 miles an hour when they're on land? Well, these two big boys was moving 12 to 13. I mean, they came barreling off the island, sliding into the water, and disappeared. Next, I could hear another boat in the distance. And I'm not sure where it was, but this thing's engine was wide open. And when I came in, there was a lot of debris in the water. Whoever that was risking their life speeding like that. They could have easily hit something and flipped over. Then stuff got even more weird. Everything in the swamp went silent. And when I say everything, I mean everything. No more crickets, no more fish moving, no frogs croaking, no nothing. It was eerie. Next, I started to hear this splashing sound in the water. It was a ways off, but I was 100% certain that something was in the water splashing around. But it wasn't the sound of fish jumping. It sounded like something actually swimming through the water. About 5 minutes after that, I saw the first one. It was on all fours, and it ran past those same trees that I was standing next to earlier that day. The light had gotten real dim, but I was still able to see it. Then I saw a smaller one sniffing around. Man, to be honest with you, I was completely disappointed. Because if this was supposed to be the Rougarou, it couldn't have been. It just looked like large dogs running on all fours. But it wasn't until I heard this growling sound that I was sure the Dogman was somewhere around. My entire body trembled. And for the first time, I realized that maybe I had bitten off way more than I can chew. And although I heard the growl, when I looked around, I couldn't see any. Based on what I heard, I really didn't want to see what made that sound. So I grabbed the rope attached to the anchor, started to pull it up out of the water. That's when I hear the sound of another boat coming down the channel. And this thing is moving. It has the lights on in front of it and is headed directly towards me. I start to wave and swing my hands trying to signal them and let them know that I was there. And right at the last second, they swerve and turn away. And it was crazy. Because you know how it is when you're driving in your car and you pass by another vehicle and you get a quick glimpse of the person through their window as they're passing by? It was just like that, except for the guy was looking at me and pointing to the island. Then the wake from his boat tossed me and shook me a little bit, making me drop the anchor back into the water. And while I was stumbling around on this boat, trying to regain my balance, I heard that growling sound again. This time, it was way louder and much closer. By now, there's absolutely no light left, and I'm freaking out. And what you have to understand is this boat passed on the right-hand side of me, and the island is to the left. So the wake was actually pushing my boat closer and closer to the island. I was in danger. I knew it and I felt it. Although I didn't see anything at that point in time, I knew my life was in mortal danger. So I grabbed the rope and started pulling the anchor up again. And in the back of my mind, I already know the more I pull this anchor up, the closer and closer I'm going to drift to this island. So I start pulling as fast as I can and get the anchor up on the boat. And as I'm maneuvering my body to get behind the steering wheel of the boat, I start to hear this rustling sound, which instantly let me know that I had drifted way closer to this island than I wanted to. So I crank the engine, throw the boat in reverse, and start wheeling it around so I can turn and go in the opposite direction. As I'm turning, I flick on the floodlight right at the front of the boat, and it slowly starts to illuminate that water in the channel and the island itself. And all I can tell you is that what I saw completely messed me up. As the boat turned and that floodlight illuminated everything, right on that spot where I was about 4 hours earlier, I saw a creature. This thing was 9 to 10 feet tall and standing on two legs. And it was looking right at me. And about 10 feet out from the bank into the water, were two more of these things. I couldn't see their bodies, but I could see their eyes, snouts, and ears poking out of the water. Man, now some people are going to think I'm lying, but I know exactly what I saw. Those eyes illuminated this orangish yellow color. For a split second, I thought it might have been gators, but their eyes illuminate red at night. This color was an amber orange color, and it was bright. And unlike an alligator, these eyes were huge. Man, I hit the throttle on that boat and got the hell out of there. When I reached the boat rental dock, I got out, walked up there, handed the owner the keys, got in my truck, and drove until I was 250 miles away from them swamps. Only then did I start to feel safe. I got me some coffee, and after that, I drove until I was completely tired and was about to pass out. I pulled over at a well-lit truck stop and slept. A few hours later, I drove again and kept on driving all the way till I got home. After seeing these creatures, I was so afraid. When I got home, I took every book, every article, everything I had about Dogman and burned it. Not only are they real, but they were about to kill me. Luckau, Germany, Dogman encounter. Let me start by saying this. My family has owned this property in Germany since the 1600s. Farmland where we raise cattle. And since the 1600s, my family has split its time between raising cattle and fishing in a lagoon nearby. Now, I realize most of you listen to the story have never and probably will never visit Germany. This is beautiful country with dense forests and great people. And to this day, we still live by the old traditions. Neighbors helping neighbors. Now, as for what you call Dogman, my family has known about these creatures for centuries. Upright walking wolves. Yes, I said it. They walk on their hind legs, fast and strong. As a boy, I witnessed one of these things attack a full-grown bull, snap his neck, then shred this thing into pieces. That evening, I was with my father and we were crossing one of our neighbor's property, and I watched as this thing completely destroyed this bull. And it was on that day that my father shared this information with me. He told me that they migrated across borders around the lagoon into Poland and Lithuania, and these creatures had been seen as far away as Estonia. And I can still remember it. That evening, I was absolutely terrified. But my father just took a glance and kept on walking, pretty much ignoring this creature. Later, when we got home and I asked him, "Dad, weren't you afraid of this creature? How could you just walk past and ignore what was going on?" That's when he told me that they can smell your fear. It drives them crazy. And once you are afraid enough, then they would kill you and eat you. Sitting there across the table from my father, I know I had to be looking at him like he was crazy. But he went on further and explained to me that fear makes our blood smell stronger. And that same fear releases chemicals that makes our blood taste better to these creatures. That day, my dad told me, if you're not afraid, the creatures will just leave you alone. Fast forward 55 years to this day. We still own our family's land. And 4 years ago, we purchased our neighbor's land where we had that encounter. Now, on the backside of that piece of property, there is this hollow, deep, spooky. I'm talking about a place where the sun doesn't shine in the daytime. And in the morning times, it holds this unnatural fog and moisture that makes the place like something out of a horror movie. And I remember venturing there as a young man,
My friends and I always believed that that place was evil. You could feel it when you were there. Standing at the top of that hollow looking down, you could feel it, like something was there waiting on you to venture down into the area. Now, as for my encounter with 3 of these creatures, it all started when my wife's dog took off running out of the back door early in the morning at 6:30. Picture this, we're at the table having breakfast and the dog bolts out of the door. Now, in my mind, he just needs to handle his business, so I'm thinking nothing of it. 2 hours later, I'm moving around back and forth around the house doing chores, and my wife says, "Hey, honey, where's the dog?" Again, we own a huge piece of property, so it's nothing for that dog to run off, get distracted, and then come back hours later. So I'm thinking nothing of it. 5 hours pass, and my wife mentions it again. But this time, the look on her face is one of worry. She says, "Honey, I need you to go find my dog. I have a very bad feeling that he's in trouble." So I hop on my side-by-side and start riding around the property looking for the dog. I ride the entire length of our original property. No sign of the dog. Then I move over to our newly acquired property, start riding around. Nothing. The only place left for this dog to be was hit by a car along the roadway, or he was back in that hollow. So I head on over in that direction. I started riding along the ridge line above the hollow. And that's when I start to hear him barking. Getting off the side-by-side, I say, "Hey, come here, boy. Come here. Here, boy. Here, boy. Come here. Come here." But nothing. Just this constant barking. Now, I didn't want to go down in this hollow, but at the same time, I didn't want to go back and explain to my wife that I didn't go down there to get her dog because I was afraid of what might be down there. So I started making my way down. And I just need to explain something to you. This hollow is steep. We ain't talking about going down on a gradual angle. I literally have to hold on to trees and grab rocks, sliding my way down. And when I get to the bottom, although it's about 2 to 3 o'clock in the evening, it's pretty much freaking dark down here. Picture this. I hear the barking and I'm moving along slowly, closing in on him. And being down there is like being submerged into a whole nother world. It's completely quiet down here with the exception of my dog barking. And listen to this. When I finally got to him, somehow my dog's collar was caught on this curved down tree branch. Looking at it, it was impossible for this dog to do this on his own. It was almost as if something or someone picked him up, slid his collar onto this branch, and gently placed him down on top of a log, essentially trapping my dog right there in that spot. Now, first I tried to pick him up, lifting him off the branch, but my dog is a German Shepherd and he's too freaking heavy for that. So now I'm down on my knees and I'm trying to unbuckle his collar when I start to hear movement coming up behind me. This quick, choppy pattering, like something is running up on me. And when I turn around, I find myself face to face with one of these creatures. These gigantic teeth and jaws, wet snout, and these piercing yellow eyes staring directly at me. Now pause for a second. Let me explain something to you about the size of these animals. The best way for me to describe the sheer mass and size of the head of this animal and relay it to you in terms of something that you may possibly understand is, if you're sitting down in a chair, any freaking chair, the area in which your butt rests on is about the width of the size of this thing's head. And to make you understand the size of this thing's eyes, take any spray can you can find, flip it upside down, and look at the bottom, and that is the size of this thing's eyes. It is there, right there in my face, snarling at me. I can smell every breath and feel the air as it comes out of its wet nostrils. That's how close, and in the back of my mind, all I could hear was my dead father's voice saying, "Don't show them any fear. They feed off fear. If it realizes that you are afraid, this thing will kill you. Now there is no way on earth. Now there is no way on earth that I'm going to sit here and lie to you and tell you I was not shocked, startled, and afraid. But you need to understand something, and what this boils down to is that fear ultimately is a choice. So I decided to turn my head from that creature, grab him by the back of the neck, stand up, and try to walk away. The dog is shaking, shivering, and urinating on himself. And then my dog starts to look around. Forcing my eyes to look as well. And in the distance, I see two more of these things, one on all fours and one standing up next to a tree. That's when it hit me. These sons of bitches had set up an ambush for me. They wanted me down in that hollow. There's no telling how long they had been watching me and my family. And it was in that moment that I decided that, you know what? I'm walking back up out of this hollow with my fucking dog, and I don't give a shit what they try to do. So I start walking off, literally dragging the dog, walking in the only direction where I wouldn't have a direct encounter with one of these creatures. And listen to me, every molecule of my body was telling me to run, but I refused to. I walked straight, upright, and confidently away from these creatures. We get about 10 to 12 yards away, and my fucking dog takes off running up the side of that hollow and leaves me. And so now I find myself down there alone, holding on to trees, trying to climb my way back out of there. Behind me, I can still hear the breathing and growling of these creatures. I get halfway up the side of that ridge, and there's nothing but rocks on the ground for me to grab onto and start pulling myself up. And listen to me, when I finally turned and looked, that same one that was right up in my face was standing on two legs, head cocked to the side, looking at me. Reading its face, it gave me the impression that it was disgusted, like, this bastard is not afraid of me. And no, I was afraid. I just refused to show the fact that I was afraid. It took me another harrowing 15 minutes to climb back up out of that hollow. And when I got to the top of the ridge, I had to walk back around to get to my side-by-side and drive back home. Driving away and heading back home, my body was so pumped full of adrenaline that my hands were shaking and my eyes were twitching. I pull up to the house and my dog is laying there at the back door. And honestly, in that moment, I was pissed because he left me. So I kick him and go into the house. When I finally sit down at the table, my wife starts to question me about where I was and where I found the dog. Now she, like everyone else in the area, knows about these creatures. So when I start to explain to her what happened, my wife suggests that we contact one of the local lumber mills and actually donate the trees in the holler to them. That way, they would go down in there and cut them down for free, hauling all that lumber out of there and moving those creatures off of our property. And within 2 weeks, we had them out there cutting every freaking tree down in that holler. Now, I want to be extra clear with you. That didn't put an end to these things migrating across our property. But what it did was remove a place for them to congregate and hang out on my property. My wife and I both have seen them since then. And I'm pretty sure I saw one of them peeking into my house about 6 months ago. But I've never had an incident like that again. My Dogman encounter was a brief one, and truthfully I had no clue exactly what I saw that morning until a few months ago when I ran across this channel. My fiance loves true scary stories, and one evening we're in a car on our way home and she's playing this Siege at Lockett Ranch story. I'm listening and I tell her, babe, I've seen something very similar to what this guy's talking about. See, I graduated from Indiana State University in architectural engineering. In engineering school, we had these professors. Some of them were cool, but others were just straight up hard asses. I mean, like real deal hard ass professors. This one professor, Dr. Singh. To this day, I think this man went home, sat at his desk, and thought of ways to fail students. I mean, he gave the most impossible to pass exams known to man. And part of me thinks that Dr. Singh, an Indian professor, just got a kick out of giving us American students a hard time. Well, listen to this. He gives one of those exams. Everybody sitting in the room looks around at each other, looks at the test, looks around at each other, looks at the test. None of the information that's on this test is anywhere near anything that we've been studying for the past 2 weeks, and the entire class fails. Everyone with the exception of a guy named Alan. And Alan is one of those human enigmas, meaning this dude never failed the test, didn't matter what it was, he was a pure genius. But as for everyone else, we failed. Like I told you, this type of test is not a one-off incident. He does this stuff over and over again. And then Dr. Singh tells us all that we have an opportunity to get extra credit. Another ploy that I believe was devised by him because he was a lonely man and he wanted people to hang out with. And this was a way for him to get an endless supply of students to hang out with. Get this. He tells us all over the next 4 weeks we have the opportunity to spend any Saturday morning with him down at the Pyramid Mounds in Knox County. Then Dr. Singh goes on talking about Indian culture, American Indian culture. Keep in mind, Dr. Singh is not American Indian. He's red dot curry chicken Indian. Confused the hell out of all of us. But under the circumstances, you kind of have no choice. Understand, his offer was good. Spend that Saturday with him and you can get 50 points added to your test, or you get a retake where your maximum score could be 80%. Meaning, you get a retake of the exact same exam which you saw, and the highest grade you can get was an 80. Understand, I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this exam. A 50-point boost only moved me from a low F to a high F. Didn't make no difference, so I didn't have a choice in the world other than to go take this trip. Now that you understand why I went to the mounds, let me explain to you how I ended up getting there too early. It's a Friday evening. I'm aware of the fact that we need to go to the mounds on a Saturday morning, but I go over by my friend's house for a party where we drink alcohol, smoke weed through a bong. I get high as a kite, pass out at about 7:30. At 5:30 a.m., I wake up in a complete panic, still partially high, still partially drunk, but understanding that I need to be in Knox County to be at this mound at 6:45 a.m. To this day, I still haven't figured out where the hell I came up with the 6:45 a.m. time, but nonetheless, that's what I was thinking. Now imagine this. I'm rushing to the bathroom, washing my face, brushing my teeth. Now I'm downstairs in his kitchen, getting me some coffee. Opening the cabinet, I see that he has some Adderall. So now I take 2 Adderalls and I'm like, okay, in a moment, I'm going to be wide awake. Everyone else in the house is asleep. I get his car keys, hop into his car and start headed down to Knox County. Hour and 15-minute ride away. It's early on a Saturday morning. I'm speeding. I get there at 6:55 a.m. Stepping out of the car, looking around and realize that no one, absolutely no one is here. The sun has already come up. It's good daylight, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe they're here. They're just on the other side of the mound. So now I exited the car and I'm walking, heading towards the mound, when I hear this panting and heavy breathing. I never will forget it because I was on Adderall, and when you're on Adderall, your attention level is at superhuman heights. I could hear it, and even as I tell you this story now, all the details of that day are vivid in my mind. I know for a fact it's 2 dogs running up behind me, running with their mouths open, tongues hanging out. You can hear the tongues flapping and hitting against their jaws. Now get this, turning around, I'm expecting to see like a Doberman Pinscher or a Labrador, worst case scenario, a Rottweiler or a Pit Bull. But no, I see two huge black dogs running directly at me. Understand, I'm 6'2", and on all fours, these two dogs' heads were at my chest. They literally come brushing by me, one on my right, one on my left. Run up to the top of that mound. When they get there, they're kind of jumping around in the air, snapping, playing, like someone invisible is holding a stick up in the air out of their reach. Then they stop, stare, and their heads begin to track something across the air, just like any normal dog would do when it's tracking an object through the air, and take off running, full speed, down the mound, hopping a fence, over into this person's property, and around the backside of his house. Understand, I'm standing there thinking, what the hell did I just witness? Were they ghost dogs? Hell no. Because I remember the smell of their breaths. And when I looked down, there were prints and smudges on the ground. So clearly, they had ran past me. Listen to me, when I told my woman the story, she asked if I was afraid. And I had to explain to her, I didn't have time to be afraid. I just went from being startled to shocked, then amazed, and then they were gone. That's how fast these creatures actually move. Get this, by 8 a.m., I'm still sitting there, and no one from the class has shown up. Now I'm calling Percy, waking him up, letting him know I took his car, number one. Number two, to check my notebook and my bag for the time. That's when I learned I'm way too freaking early. The class was supposed to meet out there at 9:45 a.m. So now I had to sit there for another hour and 45 minutes after seeing these creatures, and I had absolutely no choice because I needed to make up that exam. So yeah, that's my Dogman encounter. It's not super exciting, it's not super scary, but it's true. There's been so much talk about Dogman, and if I'm being completely honest, I thought you people were all complete and total fools. Delusional idiots that believe that there's monsters out there with the head of wolves running around in the woods, like some freaking sci-fi movie crap is going down. So I decided I was going to take Dark Waters up on his challenge, and I got me some coordinates close to my house in Oklahoma. Now let me stop right there and say this, bro. You know what it's like when you pull up to a train track, right? Red lights start flashing, the little arms come down to block you from going across the track. You know without a doubt that those arms are necessary because there are crazy people out there that will try and beat that train across those tracks. Well, that's what the conversation was like talking to Dark Waters. When I asked him about the coordinates, I was rude, pushy, arrogant, and he was just calm like some kind of freaking monk and says, if I were you, I would let this go. No need to see this kind of stuff. Now, looking back on that conversation, I was being a bit of a prick. And again, he says, bro, listen, it's not a good idea. Let this go. That's when I decided to raise my voice, call a man a fraud, and say either they're real or they're not. Then there's this long silence. I mean like 45 seconds long. So long I thought he hung up the phone. Then I hear him say, okay, bro, I'm texting you the coordinates to an extremely active location. Now, if I were you, I would get right with God before I go. Because based on what I'm feeling and sensing, God is not liking you very much right now. You need to make sure you get right before you go. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever spoken to a person and they said something so nice to you but so mean at the same time it confused you? But that's what this conversation felt like. He was being nice, truthful, but mean at the same time. It was really confusing. Anyway, he goes on to tell me, listen, these things are four-part beings, part physical, part spiritual, part interdimensional, and extremely legal. Now I'm listening to the words coming out of his mouth and saying, man, whatever, I just want to see Dogman. So we come to the agreement that whatever happens, I share my story exclusively with him. Fast forward, 30 days pass, and over that 30 days, I'm debating if I should actually go through with this. And his words keep replaying in my mind. Get right with God before you go looking for these things. Look, I get to this point where I decide that I'm going to go. It's nothing but a 2-hour ride from my house. And I say to myself, listen, we're just taking a scouting trip. Or at least that's what I thought I was about to do. I head on down to Mansfield, Oklahoma, right next to the Washoe River. It's 12 noon, bright sunny day. I get out, go into the woods, and no sooner than I get 30 yards into the woods, I feel like there is evil everywhere. But it's broad daylight, and when I look around, I don't see anything. But I feel things, but don't see anything. Understand, I got a pretty clear line of sight. And I'm saying to myself, okay, calm down. You're being paranoid. You done let this man rent space in your head, and now you're paranoid. Just bring it down a couple of notches and move forward. So that's what I do. I start moving further along into the woods. That feeling of dread and fear subsides. I work my way through those woods down to the Washoe River, make a left, and start working my way along the river. And that's when I notice these houses off in the distance. But understand, I'm looking around and I don't see any sign of Dogman anywhere. Nothing. So I head back to the car, dial Dogwater's phone number, and no answer. Then I text him, hey man, you're full of shit. There is nothing out here. Now listen to me. When I say to you I got a response immediately I get a text message saying, it's 12 noon in the daytime, tough guy. The sightings happen along the river near the houses at night. And right then and there is when it dawns on me. This man has to know something about this location, and there's a huge possibility that it's right because he talked about the houses along the river. The same houses I had just seen. So now, I start to get a little more confident in the fact that this might be a location where I can find Dogman and decide to head on home and get my equipment. Now, I probably should have grabbed one of my shotguns or at least my sidearm, but honestly, I didn't think that Dogman was real. So I felt like there was no need for any of this. I was still in a situation where I was thinking, okay, this is an 80-20 deal. 80% chance this man is bullshitting me, 20% chance that he could be telling the truth. And the only thing that really made me think that he was possibly telling the truth was the fact that he knew about the houses. But I'm saying to myself, anybody can pick a location on Google Earth. He probably just grabbed some coordinates in Oklahoma and gave them to me. Now listen to me, knowing what I know now, man, not only would I have taken a shotgun, sidearm, extra ammunition, I would have took one of those Ghostbusters backpacks out there with me with the little ghost trap and everything I could possibly get my hands on before I went to this location. That being said, let me go on and tell you the crazy shit that happened to me. Listen, so now, it's about 5:45, 6 o'clock. I got all my stuff packed up. I'm comfortable. I head back down to that location. Park right there in the same spot where I parked earlier that day, get out of the vehicle, and walk into the woods. Now, as I'm walking into the woods, I get a text message from Dog Waters that says, hey bro, when the spirit of fear comes upon you, you got two choices. You better fight it off or you better run. Trust me, it's important that you understand this. Now, for you listen to the story, I need you to imagine the scene. It's pitch black out here. I'm into the woods, cell phone in hand. That's the only light I have turned on because I was in the process of turning on my flashlight when he texts me. So I'm reading his text message, thinking to myself, what the hell is this man talking about? I go to put my cell phone back into my pocket, click on my flashlight, and proceed to walk into the woods. I get to the point where I'm halfway between where my vehicle is and where that river is, based on what I scouted earlier that day. And that's when I start to see what looks like these glowing green bugs all over the place. They're low to the ground, moving back and forth, about 15-20 yards ahead of me. And it's like these bugs are darting back and forth behind trees. Now, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out what this is, and I rationalize it, saying this is some kind of firefly, right? So I keep moving forward. And then I hit this cold spot in the woods, like this wall of cold air. So cold that my eyeglasses begin to fog up. Now listen to what I'm about to tell you, because I take off my eyeglasses, grab the edge of my shirt, wipe them off. When I put them back on, I start to realize that these are not some type of insects flying around, because insects don't move back and forth in pairs of twos. Now it looks as if these are green eyes looking at me. The problem is they are low to the ground. 3.5, we're talking about 3.5 to 4 feet off the ground. But they're looking at me from behind trees. So now I start to get afraid. No, that's not even an accurate description of what I felt. Now I feel like I'm being made afraid. If that makes any sense to you, it's kind of like when you're a kid at night. You know, your parents tuck you in the bed and you want that night light on, right? The reason why you want that night light on is because you are made afraid when that light goes off. And what I mean by that, as long as that night light is on, you're not afraid. You can go to sleep and everything's fine. Let somebody come in there and turn that night light off, and all of a sudden you become afraid. But it's an action that makes you afraid. Me seeing these things darting around, moving around, begin to make me extremely afraid. I'm talking about a fear that I've never felt before. I'm talking about a palpable, tangible fear. So now I'm standing there looking around. I see these eyes darting back and forth from in behind trees. And so I start to try to flash the light on them. And when the light hits it, I realize that it's a shadow. It's literally a short shadow with green eyes. But when the light hits these eyes, it's not like a fluorescent green, like a green freaking flame of fire. Now, right there in that moment is when I realized, okay, this shit not going to work for me. I do not want to do this anymore. I'm calling a timeout, and I'm going back to my car and getting the hell out of here. But when I turn around, I come to the realization that they are everywhere, both in front of me and behind me. More of them behind me than in front of me. Now, from that very moment that I realized that, the fear completely ravages me. I take off running full speed through the woods, hitting my legs, my head, my arms on tree limbs, stumbling and falling until I get to the embankment and roll down towards the river. Now, when I stand up and look back up that embankment, there is absolutely nothing there. Now listen, I need you to understand something. I don't do no drugs, don't smoke no marijuana, no fentanyl, no cocaine, no nothing. I don't even like Tylenol. So I'm in my right state of mind when I experience this. And I'm looking at this situation saying to myself, there is no way in hell that I'm going back through those woods to get to my car. No sir, no way. That's when I realized, hey, I'm not too far away from these houses. If I can get up to these houses, I can cut back down somebody's driveway or something like that. So now I'm working my way in the direction of these houses. They have their lights on. I'm walking along the bottom of that embankment next to the river. I walk about 30, 40 yards, and then I hear a giant kabloosh. And what I mean by kabloosh, it sounded like something very, very big jumped in the water on the other side of the river. However, as I explained to you already, it is dark out here. So now I'm standing on the bank of the river, shining my light into the water. I see the ripples. I know something's in the water. I'm scanning the top of the water. I don't see anything, but I can tell there is something coming in my direction because there is a wake in the water. And I'm not talking about like a shark fin type wake. No. You can tell something's under the water coming in my direction. So now I'm jogging towards these houses that are not that far away, no more than 150 to 200 yards. I'm jogging, pacing myself, running along, trying to put some distance between me and whatever the hell jumped into that water. I want to say I reached the halfway mark from where I first came down that embankment to while I'm halfway to those houses when I hear a short, low, guttural growl. It's not like people describing all these interviews where they're like, it's this long, nasty, guttural growl. This was kind of a growl mixed with a grunt. Like something was tired and aggravated, and it didn't give out a full growl. It's kind of like, grrr. However, although that growl was short, oh my goodness, it was extremely, extremely loud. Shine a light back in that direction, and I see a giant black mass. What I mean by giant, even at the distance that it was away from me, I could tell it was 13, 14 foot tall. It's a black, furry, tall mass moving in my direction. And it was almost as if when I shined that light on it, I caught it just standing up, because it stops, looks in my direction, and I know in my heart, in my mind, and even in my soul that that thing right there is coming to get me. So now I turn around and I'm running full speed trying to get to that house. So now I turn around and I'm running full speed trying to get to that house. Understand, I'm running along the side of a river and it's dark. So the only decision I can make to really get speed going is to climb back up that bank, get on flat land, and haul ass. I'm going through the process of climbing back up that bank. When I get to the very tip top, I see not only is the house there, not only are the lights on, I am the luckiest man in the world because there are two people standing outside in their driveway talking, and one person has their car turned on. You know how it is when you're walking somebody out of the house that came to visit you, and you stand outside for a little while, and you hold a conversation. Oh, it's good to see you. All right, I'm going to see you the next time. And then they get in their car and they go away. That's what I'm looking at. I know that's what's going on. I'm like, help me, help me. Hey, I'm over here. Help me. I watched these people begin to walk in my direction out of curiosity, trying to see what was going on. I know they can see me waving this flashlight, and then the thing behind me growls. And this growl is the growl that everybody else describes, that deep, long, guttural growl. Man, all I'm saying to you is that sound wave hit me in my back, and I felt like my heart exploded out of my chest. I'm looking at them as they hear the noise, and the two of them turn around, run into the house, and close the freaking door. Are you listening to me? These people turn around, run in the house, and close the freaking door, man. Listen, at this point in time, I'm about 40 yards away from the house, so I run as fast as I can, get to the side door, and bang on that bitch. Bang, bang, bang. Hey, man, let me in, please. Come on. There's something out here. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in. Come on, man. Let me in. Listen, I don't know what I was expecting those people to do. Honestly, if I saw a crazy man come running up from the river, I'd probably run in the house as well. But what I heard as a reply was not what I was expecting to hear. This man inside this house says, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you did, but we don't want that thing coming back to our house. And they click off the fucking lights, man. Now I'm standing out there. They done turned the lights to the house off. And I realized the headlights on the car are not only on, but the car is turned on and running. And when I look back in the direction from where that thing was coming, it's pitch blackness. I cannot see it, but I can feel it coming after me. And I understood in that moment how our ancestors felt when there was no lights, no modern civilization, no nothing, when they were being pursued as prey in the dark, in the middle of the night, when there was nothing but moonlight, because I did not need to see this thing coming to feel it coming. I mean, every inch of my body felt like this thing was coming for me. Now listen to me when I say this to you. I wasn't proud of what I did next. Nope. Not gonna lie to you. Not proud of it at all. But I went over there to that car, I hopped in and stole that bitch and pulled off. Yes, sir. I hopped in that car, stole it, drove out of that driveway, and sped off. Now let me pause right here for a moment in this story. Catch my breath, and I need to explain some things to you. Because the emotions that I was going through at this moment, I don't think I can really put them into words, but I'm going to try my best to put these emotions in words, right? I was beating on those people's doors, scared for my life. They turned the lights off on me. So a part of me was angry. I mean, just angry, like just mad. Like, how the hell can you do that to another human being? I was angry. Then the fear was still there, because as I'm driving away, I'm saying to myself, man, what if this thing run this car down, jump on the car and get me? Once I get down their driveway, speed off. I mean, I'm talking about speed off around the road. Now confusion kicks in, because now I'm not exactly sure where the hell I am. So now I'm literally driving off in a stolen car, lost, not knowing where I'm going, angry and afraid. Now, if you listen to the story, that is what you call the worst emotional salad that you can ever have. I'm all fucked up in the head, and I'm speeding. I'm talking about 80 miles an hour down this little country road, because I'm scared. Then the paranoia kicks in when I realize, hold on, man, you just stole these people's fucking car. Now I'm looking through the rearview mirror like, oh my goodness, I'm going to get pulled over by the police. They're going to say I done carjacked people. This shit is going to end bad for me. Look, I ride around in a stolen car for 15 minutes. And I need you to understand, I'm not a thief. I've never stolen anything in my life. when we were kids and we would go to the little store, all my friends would steal candy. I was a kid that didn't steal candy. I was a kid that in school didn't cheat on the test. I have never stolen anything in my life. And now I find myself in a situation where I'm a carjacker. Anyway, back to what I'm saying. I'm literally riding around panicking, trying to figure out what to do. Part of me is saying, okay, look, pull over, ditch this car in the woods, and start walking. But then I'm saying to myself, hell no. How I'm gonna pull over, ditch the car in the woods, to try and walk back to my car? Not only did I see those things with flaming green eyes, but I clearly was being chased by freaking Dogman. That shit is not an option. And listen, that's what it dawns on me, man. You got a whole bunch of bad options right now. You can go turn yourself in the police, turn the car in and tell them what happened, or you can just risk riding around trying to get back to that spot where you parked your car. Those were my two options. Go turn myself into the police or ride around and try and find my car. So I said to myself, self, we're going to ride around for the next 10 minutes. If we cannot find our car in the next 10 minutes, we're going to ride until we find a police station. We're going to pull up, tell them the situation, turn the car in, and we're going to face the consequences. So now I'm riding around in that same area where I just saw those green-eyed things and was chased by Dogman, and all I want to do is take these people's car and drive it home. That's all I want to do. That's all I'm thinking about. Let's just steal this car and go home. But I know without a doubt, if I try and drive these people's car home and I get pulled over on the interstate in a stolen car, my ass is going to prison. Now that you understand the options on the table, now you understand why I was doing what I did. So I drove around. And I drove. And I know I drove for more than 10 minutes. And it was the most harrowing time in my life, because I felt like every time I came around a corner, there was going to be a police car there waiting, looking for this stolen car. I turn around this corner and come up this road and see my vehicle parked along the side of the road. And I get excited, speed up as fast as I can, slam on the brakes, and bump into my own damn car. Hop out, leave their car running with the door open, keys in it, get into my vehicle, go to crank it up, and the damn thing won't turn over. Now I know y'all saying this some bullshit. This some straight up bullshit. And I agree with you, because that's what I was saying in that moment. And let me explain to you even furthermore why this is a bunch of bullshit. Because see, I do the maintenance on my car myself. I don't take it to Pep Boys. I don't send it to a mechanic. I take care of my car myself, and my vehicle always works because I maintain it. And I'm trying to turn it over, and it's acting and behaving like the battery's going dead. And I know two things. Number one, my battery is not old. And number two, I didn't leave the lights on the vehicle, so there's no reason for that battery to be drained. But it is acting crazy like it won't turn over. Now understand the situation. I have stolen these people's car. I have rammed into my own car. Their car is running with the lights on and the door open. My car will not crank up. So I'm panicking again, because I'm literally right in the same area where these black shadows with these flaming green eyes are. And if the police come up the road, it's a guarantee that they're going to stop and try and figure out what the hell is going on with these two vehicles. My heart is racing. My head is pounding. I literally have a headache because my blood pressure is so high, and the car finally turns over. Now I need you to understand this. The spot where I stopped and got out of my vehicle is the furthest I scouted up that road. The only way I knew to get out of there was to make a U-turn and drive back the other way. So now I'm trying to make the U-turn and end up making a 3-point turn. You know what I'm talking about. The kind where you turn, hit your brakes, back up, put it in drive, back up, and then go forward. Bro, as I'm coming around and passing that car with the door open, I look to that side, and those black shadows with those glowing, flaming green eyes are coming out of the woods. And what I mean by coming out of the woods, they are standing next to that freaking car. So now I am flying up that road. Understand, these roads have a few bends and twists in them. I'm doing 75, 80, trying to get the hell out of there. Finally, get to the interstate. I'm headed back north, going home. And I'm starting to come down feeling like, okay, that was real stupid what you did, but you know what? You made it out of there. Let's just get all behind home. Let's just get home. Let's just get to the house. Bro, riding along the highway, and for some reason my attention is drawn to my rear view mirror. And I'm telling you, looking in that mirror, I see one of those shadows with those flaming green eyes, and it's in the car with me. So now I swerve off the road, damn near run into a ditch, hop out of the vehicle, damn near run into traffic and get hit, circle around and go to the side of the road, and I'm having a panic attack because as I'm looking in my vehicle, I see that black shadow with green eyes, and I can see it looking at me through the back window. I'm telling you, I'm not joking with you. I'm telling you the truth. And from this moment right here is where things go completely insane. Because I'm standing there looking at this thing on the side of the road, staring into his eyes, and then I hear this voice in my head tell me to go and play in traffic. Are you listening to me? I hear a voice in my head tell me to go and play in the traffic. Well, I need you to understand, we're talking about 18-wheelers going 80, 85 miles an hour up and down this highway. And I'm hearing, go and play in the traffic over and over again. Go and play in the traffic. The next thing I know, I wake up in the inpatient. And if you don't know what an inpatient is, that means your ass has been put into the crazy house. I wake up in the crazy house. Padded walls, under observation. And I'm asking the people, I'm saying, hold on, man, what am I doing here? How did I get here? What in the hell is going on? The doctor comes in, the doctor explains to me, says, sir, you were literally in the middle of the highway, dodging cars and 18-wheelers, screaming, saying that the green-eyed men told you you had to play in traffic. You were literally sitting on your butt and scooting up and down in traffic. Sir, you had a mental breakdown, and when the highway patrol got there, they realized that you weren't on drugs, you were crazy, so they brought you here. When I ask these people how long I have been here, they tell me I've been in the inpatient for 3 days. For the past 2 days, I've been talking about shadows with green eyes. Now, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to say this to you, and I need you to understand this, and I want you to understand this clearly. I have never had a history of mental illness. My mother and father have never had a history of mental illness. Nothing like that has ever happened to me until I started messing around with Dogman. I was in the inpatient for 2 more days where I was consciously aware of what's going on. What I mean by consciously aware, I was my normal self with normal functions, normal faculties, wasn't thinking about nothing crazy, wasn't doing nothing crazy. I was just normally me. They observed me for 2 more days, and then they let me go. So I come out of the inpatient, grab my cell phone, turn it on. You know how when your cell phone comes on, it vibrates, and then it starts giving you all these updates on the things that you missed on YouTube? Like it'll start feeding them to you, like this video, and that video, and this video, and that video. I'm standing outside the building. Understand, my car been impounded. I gotta go get that. And all these updates are coming on my phone. And I realized that every freaking update that came on my phone from YouTube had something to do with Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves, Dogman. And it was such a surreal experience to be standing outside of a mental hospital. And the shit that got me there was popping up on my phone right then and there in that moment. Listen to me when I say this to you. You can take my advice or you don't take my advice. I don't care. But what I'm telling you is this. See all y'all people out there who want to go look for Dogman? Man, don't be going looking for this shit. Don't go. That's all I'm going to say. Don't go. This broadcast is sponsored by RaymaEngravings.com. RaymaEngravings.com. Are you looking for the perfect gift for any special occasion? Thanksgiving, Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Veterans Day. Or you could just be searching for some new home decor. If that's the case, then head over to RaymaEngravings.com, where you will find Christian-centric custom wood-carved engravements of all shapes and sizes. Again, that's RamaEngravings.com. RamaEngravings.com. I didn't recognize you without your suit and tie on. Those were the words that came out of Aaron's mouth as I sat at the bar drinking my beer. Had I known that meeting this woman would lead to a series of events that ended with me fighting in the swamps and being chased by a moss-covered werewolf, I probably would never ever have entertained her advances. But at the same time, then she would have never had the opportunity to be my wife. Listen to this. It's 1985, and all of these events happened long before the excitement about Dogman on YouTube. Erin was a nurse at one of the hospitals where I met doctors along my medical device sales route. After our chance encounter at the bar, she and I begin to hang out. We go on one date, and I'm really liking her. The second date, she's the bomb. By the third date, I'm pretty much falling in love with Erin. Months pass, and we're going on a year. She's met my entire family, but I have yet to meet anyone from her family. So now I'm pressing her, saying, listen, Erin, I'm getting serious about you. I really like you. You're the kind of woman I can settle down with. But I can't get serious with you until I meet your folks. I need to know who you come from. That's when she tells me her mother and father passed away when they were young, but she has 3 brothers, swamp people who make a living in the swamps of Florida. Now, listen to me when I say this to you. When she said swamp people, I have the wrong idea. I'm thinking about kind of suburbs on the edge of the swamps. You know, a little cul-de-sac with water behind it. But no, she wasn't lying. She meant real swamp people. And I figured this all out extremely quickly when we finally go to visit her family. We head down to Florida. I'm dressed up in slacks and a polo shirt. And out walks her oldest brother, Chris. The man has overalls on, tattoos all over his body. Then his wife comes out of the house, and she's one of those sunburnt Florida girls, big bone. You know the kind of woman that rides on the back of a motorbike with no helmet, falls off, hits her head, climbs back up, and keeps riding. The woman has this steely look in her eyes. She is scary. Then their 2 sons come running out of the house with a baby alligator in hand, talking about, do I want to play with their pet alligator? Imagine the scene and pay attention carefully to what I'm saying to you, because I'm standing there on their front lawn, assessing the situation, saying to myself, okay, now I understand why Erin did not want me to meet her family. Now, if that wasn't enough, we were supposed to spend the entire weekend at their house. His wife starts to talk about preparing dinner. My expectation is that the 6 of us will be having a quiet meal. No, I was completely wrong, because dinner was outside on the back porch, and it quickly goes from 6 people to 16 people. Her brothers, cousins, and their children. And that's when the hazing starts. Lightning rounds of questions. So many questions that I am having a hard time keeping up with what is being asked. For example, do you like to eat frog legs? Another question, do you have any of the medical devices that you sell in your trunk? How much are they worth? Do you think it's something that can be pawned off? They ask so many questions that I decide is best that I just give them the answers that I want them to know. Next question comes out, I tell them I've been boxing since I was age 14, got a college scholarship to box. They shoot another question at me about my brothers and sisters, and I simply tell them I love fishing. I wouldn't mind going out on the water and fishing with you guys sometime. Understand, I'm just trying to relate to her family. But the next thing you know, and I can't explain how we got to this point so rapidly, we are all going gator hunting in the morning. Her oldest brother Chris says don't worry about clothes, we have a spare set. That night the two of us sleep in separate twin-sized beds in their kids' room, and I'm awakened by her youngest brother, Victor, telling me to get dressed at 5:45 a.m. Now, let's pause here for a moment. This is where I had my first bad feeling about the entire situation. My instincts told me I should not go, but I figured that her brothers were just testing me. I didn't think that these boys was crazy. But shit was I wrong. Because wait until you hear what happens next. Fast forward, we're at the boat dock getting on the largest airboat I have ever seen, and they are dead serious about hunting alligators. We head out deep into the swamps, waterways, twisting and turning. Listen, I'm comfortable on the water, but this situation wasn't making me comfortable at all because I noticed them talking to each other. You know how people get right in the other person's ear and talk? Well, the double engines on the airboat was so loud, they're talking into each other's ear and looking at me. And this feeling comes over me like they're gonna try some bullshit. And looking at their body language, it ain't good. I tell myself, relax, they ain't crazy, they just out here to test you. So now we baiting the lines for the gators, they got me doing it, teaching me how it works. I'm telling myself, be cool, everything's gonna be alright. We run those lines and then start at the beginning checking them. The first few lines are empty, then next thing you know, we have an alligator on the line. I watch these boys tangle with that gator. It's biting the boat, tail flopping around, trying to bite them. And I'm like, nah, this shit ain't for me. Give me a fishing pole, but y'all can keep that shit. They shoot the gator, pull it onto the boat, and we're off to the next stop. This one is down in one of these small bayous, about 14 feet wide. There's a gator on line, but it's up on land. Her oldest brother, Chris, is like you, and Victor gonna get out there and get that gator. Now, like I told you earlier, Victor is her younger brother. His ass hops out that boat onto land like it ain't nothing to it. But me, I didn't move. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll shoot a gator, but I ain't going on land with no hungry alligator. And as far as I'm concerned, that should have been it. But that's when the middle child, Henry, who everyone says is a hothead, gets to talking. So you trying to tell me my sister fucking a coward? Now he's moving from the back of the boat in my direction. I'm trying to remain calm, and I tell him, look, it don't make me a coward because I don't want to go into the bushes with a pissed off alligator. If you want that alligator, you go out there in the bushes and get him. Now let me paint the picture for you. Victor is off the boat, on land, holding the line with the alligator on it. Chris is standing at the back of the boat with a .22 rifle. Henry and I are in the middle of the boat. That's when he looks me in my eyes and says, well, get your pussy ass out the way and let me do it then. My reply to Henry was very, very simple. This is going to be your last time disrespecting me. I don't give a fuck where we at or who you think you are. I have not disrespected you at all, and we are not about to establish a relationship where you believe it's okay for you to disrespect me. Listen, my tone let him know I was serious, but just in case, I followed up with a, yeah, you heard me. Now, Victor is dropping the line and headed back to the boat. Chris done put his rifle down, so I know they preparing for Henry to do something. But like I told him, and I'm not sure if they listen, I came up boxing. And I ain't talking about none of that Tybo, Billy Blanks boxing shit. I came up really boxing. I wasn't joking about that at dinner. Listen, Henry is a hothead, and that hothead shit is about to get him hurt. So I said, look, we need to all take it down a notch. But he repeats my words back to me. You know how people do when they talking shit. Take it down a notch. Take it down a notch. Then I see the motion. I've seen it a million times. He's swinging his arm back to throw one of those wild, untrained hook punches. And I'm smiling because I'm about to snatch his fucking soul. Bing! Overhand right. Catches him on the cheekbone. His chin connects to his shoulder. I have seen it all before. He's going to the dark place. Sure enough, his body folds up, falls back on his ankle, one leg and the other leg bent out. He looks like a giant fetus with one leg extended. Now, listen to me. Victor is hopping up on a boat. I'm thinking he's getting on a boat to try and break it up. But no, he's climbing on the boat and swinging at me. Right jab, Right jab, bing, left hook, bing! That left hook sends him to the motherfucking shadow realm. Now Victor is falling back out of the boat, lands on his face, doggy style position. Lands on his face, doggy style position in the mud. I take a quick glance at Chris, and he's cracking up laughing, but now I'm freaking out because Victor that landed on the ground face first, 18 to 20 feet away from a gator that's in the moss covered tree limbs and bushes. So now I'm jumping off the boat trying to get his ass up, and he's dazed and trying to fight me. Chris is damn near falling over laughing. Henry is still in the shadow realm. I'm picking Victor up as he's trying to punch me, pushing him back on the boat. Chris stops laughing and starts staring into the bush. I'm telling him, Chris, help me, help me, help me. But now he's just standing there staring. Remember, I'm on the ground, back turned to the bushes. I know there's a gator there, so I'm already freaking out. Chris begins to panic. Get on the boat. Get on the boat. Listen, I'm sinking in mud. Victor's body is halfway on the boat. His ass is in my face, and I see Chris running in my direction, one hand stretched out to me, the other hand pulling Victor onto the boat, and there's this fear on his face. So now I know that alligator is coming out the bushes behind me. But then I hear this growl. Taking a quick glance over my shoulder, all I see is this big mass of moss moving. So now I'm on the boat, literally laying on top of Victor. Henry is still in the shadow realm. Chris is scrambling to get the boat moving. We take off moving backwards in that small ass bayou. Now I see what he is afraid of. Listen, it's a werewolf. Flat out, fuck what else you call it, it's a werewolf. And this werewolf was disguised with tree moss all over its back. Now we're moving backwards and it's running along the banks. Chris is screaming, get back here and get the gun. Get back here and get the gun. This thing is huge. And all we have is this .22 rifle. It's moving right there along the banks, then darts into the trees just as I raise the rifle. Look, you can hear this thing running. Chris is freaking the fuck out, saying, wake them up, wake them up. Understand, it is hectic. Victor's leg done rolled out of the boat. We're bumping in the shit. Now I'm diving forward trying to catch him so he don't fall out. In the process of reaching for him, I drop the rifle. It bounces off the dead alligator in the boat, flips off the boat and into the water. Now I hear Chris screaming, looking over my shoulder. He's pulled the handgun and he's shooting in the air as he drives us out of there. When we get back to the main body of water, he switches gears, spins the boat, takes off going forward. That bloody dead alligator slides all over Henry. We take off out of there, ride for about 20 minutes, and then Chris stops the boat and just sits there. Victor is now awake. Henry is coming too, but he's ready to fight me again. And that's when Chris goes clean the fuck off. Y'all two stupid motherfuckers, sat y'all asses down. Not sit down, sat your ass down. He's so emotional, tears are in his eyes. He walks over and hugs me and holds me like I'm his child. Then starts the boat and we head back to the dock. Understand, Henry and Victor are looking at me the whole time we're riding on the boat like they want to jump on me. Why? Because they don't even know what the hell just happened. When we get to the dock, Henry starts with the bullshit again, trying to fight me. Chris puts his hand on his shoulder and says, boy, listen, you already done knocked your stupid ass out once. Then Victor starts talking shit. He looks at him and says, not only did he knock your stupid ass out, but he saved your life. Both of y'all need to set y'all asses down. Then Chris goes on to explain to these two clowns everything that happened. Listen to me, the look that came over their faces, I will never forget. But at the same time, I will never forget that they didn't even apologize. Truthfully, I didn't need an apology. What I needed was them not to disrespect me like that. That evening, we'd head back and I learned how to skin a gator in Chris's shed. At first, the two of them, Henry and Victor, they was real standoffish. But after about 2 hours, we started drinking and telling the story to the rest of the family of what happened. Now, conveniently, and I don't have a problem with it, conveniently, they left out the portion where I knocked the both of them the fuck out. And I was cool with that because I don't want their children knowing that their daddies got their ass whooped. They knew it went down, nobody else had to know, and they never really fuck with me like that again. Fast forward to the day. Aaron and I are married. Her family and I are super tight. And yes, I've learned how to hunt, kill, and clean gators. But boy, that was a rough time back then when all that shit went down. Attention all tinfoil hat wearing, dog man loving, Bigfoot chasing, alien searching ladies and gentlemen of the world. Have you heard of Chasing the Truth with Sean Graham? If you've never heard of Chasing the Truth with Sean Graham, then you have no clue what you're missing. Open line phone calls on every topic, ranging from Dogman, Bigfoot, lucid dreaming, demons, monsters, ghosts. Man, where have you been? Where have you been? If you have been accused of being a tinfoil hat wearing person, then you need to be listening to Chasing the Truth with Sean Graham. He airs every Saturday night here on the Dark Waters channel from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And if you just so happen to miss him on the Dark Waters channel, guess what? No big deal. He has his own channel called Chasing the Truth here on YouTube. Saturdays, 7 to 9 p.m. here on the Dark Waters channel. See you there.